We're gonna kind of start and end in the same place. Good sound. All right, so I'm gonna play a D drone. I'm gonna keep it rather faint for now. And if you want it to be louder, let me know. And all we're gonna do, it's real simple. Something you may overlook is to play an open D, make it sound as nice as possible. Enjoy the sound you're making. Warming up. If you know more interesting bowings, just try that. Maybe little bows. Close your eyes and listen. And now let's do eighth notes, and let's put a little accent on every note, like so. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now let's accent triplets. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Once you get going, close your eyes, really feel it. Good. Let's do one more thing. Let's do a tremolo bow, light little bows at the tip of the bow. Enjoy this sound. Enjoy how cool this is of a sound. Use a lot of wrist. Okay, now we'll get into the scale. Just a brief little run through the scale. D major, 2 bows, and I'll count you in 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. D, D, D1. And now let's do a rhythm. Let's do hoedown. Long, short, short, long, short, short. 1, 2, 3, go. Long, short, short, D1. All right, now play the scale once more, maybe another time or two on your own. Just whatever variation you like, whatever challenges you're working on, just work on it. So now we're gonna get into the tune Wildwood Flower. And give me just a sec here, make a quick adjustment. Okay. And so we're gonna start with phrases. And what I wanna get across to you is you may think you know this tune, but the practice of looping on phrases really fun, and really you can really get a lot out of it technically. So we're gonna just start with the very first phrase. So if you've been playing a while, this may seem really easy, but we're gonna take a little journey with this little thing too. So just start with, let's loop it like so. Okay. Now let's add a little bit to that. Let's add hoedown. Listen a little bit. Join in when you're ready. Okay. Now we're going to go back to the scale, D major, and we're going to start at the top, A3. Find that note, A3, before we do this. And now what we're going to do is I just want you to practice the first 4 notes going down the scale. So 3, 2, 1, open. 3, 2, 1, open. If you get lost or anything, just send me a chat if you have a question. Okay, so now we're going to do something very cool. We're going to take that phrase of Wildwood Flower and combine it with that as a little practice loop. But what this will do is, in a way, create a new melody. So listen. Join in. Okay, good. Now we're just going to add a variation to that, the same hoedown rhythm. Listen to it once and then join in. Okay, so we've explored the first phrase, and now let's explore the next phrase. So we're gonna go a 1, 3, D2. And now do that on your own a little bit. A 1, 3, D2. So I know that there's some people here who are maybe a little more advanced, and I'm just going to give you another thing you can practice. Play a, so I'll give 2 options, a more beginner option and an advanced option. We have A3 to D2, a somewhat challenging interval. Try to place both your fingers down and play back and forth. It's a little easier if you do 2 of those. And then if you're feeling adventurous, or a little bit more advanced, and you've done double stops, you can do both together. If you've never done a double stop before, I don't recommend doing it yet. But so if you're a beginner, just do. Do that on your own a little bit. Okay, good, 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 good. Now we're gonna stay with this phrase. We're gonna review a bowing pattern, a rhythm that I teach in the very first module of the course called paradiddle. If anybody has questions on it, I'm gonna do it once very slowly. D, D, A, D, A, D, A. Try that on your own. I'm gonna type that text D, D, A, D into the chat just in case you're not familiar with it. And now I'm gonna slowly play it. You can do it faster if you want on your own. Okay, good. Looks like you all got it. If you want to play it faster, use less bow and play in the middle. See how little bow you can use. That's kind of one of the secrets to playing faster, is using little bow. So find a tempo that's not too fast so that you break down with it, but that you can keep it going consistently and play the paradiddle as fast as you can without falling apart. Okay, thanks for doing that. And now we're gonna lead back to where we were in the tune. So this is a little side journey, but it's relevant because now what we're gonna do is practice going from D2 to A3 with paradiddle. Listen a little bit. Helps if you keep the fingers down the whole time. At your own pace a little bit more. All right, very good. And now play the whole phrase. Let's do paradiddle A1 to A3 a little bit. Same pattern. Faster if you can. As you go faster, less bow, quieter, less energy. It's counterintuitive. Try less hard when you go faster. And only go as fast as you can. There's no pressure to do it fast if you're not ready. Okay, now we're gonna do a similar creative, kind of almost improvisational thing with this piece. We're gonna tack on the first 4 notes of the D major scale, like so. D major, the first 4 notes, then that phrase. Isn't that nice? It's so simple, but it's nice. So I just want to point out that in a previous lesson, one of the students who's here, Mike, had said that he was frustrated because he didn't know how to begin with improvisation. That he never felt like it was, he could do it. And what I want to get you guys to see, whether or not you're interested in it, that you can use an improvisational approach just to practice things. And that a good place to start is just to cut and paste little melodic ideas. You don't have to make up a big solo or do anything that complicated. Just start to cut and paste interesting ideas Maybe they don't work. Maybe they do. And that's a really great place to start with, just messing around with improvisation, almost like a collage approach. But anyway, so just thought of that because I know Mike was frustrated with that at an earlier group lesson. All right, so let's see. Let's get some context and play what we've done in the song so far. So we have. You're welcome, Mike. So we're just doing that whole phrase. Okay, and now I'm just going to give you the rest of that phrase. D3, 2, 1, 2, 1, open. Do that on your own. And now let's loop that. Well, it's a little bit easier of a phrase, but the tricky thing is if you're looping it, you do have to get that a pretty big jump from open D to D3, right? And then we jump to D3. If that's hard for you, I suggest just going open D to D3 a little bit. If that's not hard, then continue to practice the phrase as it was. And now let's just do it with hoedown. And do it at your own pace. Okay, and now we will do this entire quarter. So listen once. We're gonna loop that together. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Sorry, let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go again. Once more. Now I'll do it with hoedown. Da 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 da. If you get stuck on that, just do the basic. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and. Now do it on your own. See if you can find your fastest tempo without breaking down. Okay, very good, very good. So that piece is the first quarter and the second quarter. So we know the first half, and we've gone pretty deep on that. So I'm just gonna roll forward into the third quarter, which is probably got the hardest thing. If we look at the intervals, if you don't know that term, an interval is 2 notes and it can be different distances. So I'm going to get into this a little bit slowly. Even if you're advanced, I think a lot of us could use help with some of the intervals. So the whole third quarter is, I'll do it fast. So I want us to start by doing just open A to 3. And if you get that sounding good, then speed that up to your fastest tempo. See how little you can lift that third finger. Try to avoid the fingers flying. See if you can lift it just a teeny bit off. See how lightly you can press it too. Just can use very little effort with your third finger. Now let's do something kind of fun. Same thing with tremolo. Enjoy that sound. I love the tremolo sound. Okay, good. And now we're gonna do the next interval, which is A3 to E1. Just in case there's some beginners who that's hard for you, there's an intermediate step. You can go A1 to A3 is an intermediate step. And then once you get that, you can go A3 to E1. Practice that a little bit. I think that's a hard interval. Make sure you got it. If you get bored, add a rhythm. Remember we did paradiddle. Let's just do paradiddle. And if this is too complicated, don't do it, but let's do holding both down. On your own, at your own pace. Okay, very good. Now I'm gonna play the rest, part of that phrase. Let's do this much of it. And loop on that. Quietly, if you like, real quiet. We'll get louder in a minute. I'll slowly get louder. Use more bow. Now get quieter again. Fading into the distance. Almost no bow. Okay. Now I'll just play the next phrase. I'm just gonna put it all together. I think it'll be easier this way. So listen to the whole third quarter. And then we start over. Good, okay. Now let's just do the last quarter. I'll play the whole thing. D2 it starts. Let's do the second half and then we'll do the whole thing. So starting with 1, 2, ready. Sorry, 1, 2, ready, go. So remember, the first part of the tune was. Let's do that all together once. I'll count you in 4. 1, 2, ready, go. Now practice it on your own, just a little bit. Okay, good. So we're gonna come right back to it. But what I want to do is take a little break to, has anybody attempted to learn how to read music, read sheet music? Awesome. So depending on where you are at that, in that process, just a thing you can do is to review the note names. And so let's play the D major scale and just just play each note. It's the note name game. Play each note. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. It's a little harder going backwards, maybe. So let's just do it again. If this is really easy for you, you can practice something different with the scale, but just to get those note names really solid and know what they are. It's not the end all be all, but it will help with communicating about music to people. So I'm going to just do that same thing again. Here we go. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. Okay. And then just a more general note, as you play a tune, ask yourself, like, what else can I practice with this tune? If you're learning note reading, can you practice note reading? If you're learning vibrato, can you practice vibrato? If you're learning double stops, and then go back to the simple melody. But these simple tunes, or any tune, can always be mined for whatever you're working on at the moment. And that's what I hope you get out of these, what I call practice journeys, is like, I want you to just explore it like a tune, but at the same time, you're doing real work on your technique or reading or whatever you're learning. Okay. So, okay. So I want to do one more kind of creative thing. It's a variation that I'm just starting to play around with for students. And basically, you may notice that there's short and long notes in this tune. And what I want us to do is practice breaking up the long notes into short notes so that we have all short notes, all the equal length. So we're going to start small as usual with the first quarter. I'm just going to play the straight version. Now, if I break up the long notes, this is what it sounds like. I'm going to keep doing that. If you have a question, send a chat. that's easy, do it faster. It's another simple way to add variation to things. Can you break up a long note? Can you create a long note? Roughly, yes, Tara. But so Tara asked, what do you mean by improvise? Does that mean adding your own variation to the tune? And so it's kind of a very general term, improvisation. And I think that one way to look at it is a very general way is you kind of are open to trying things different ways. I like to think of improvisation as a practice process, but then it's also a performance process as well. Like it could be a solo, but it could also be adding little variations to the tune. So just, disclaimer, different people will have different definitions, I think, of improvisation. But I like to think of it as like approaching music with an open mind and doing things different ways, finding different creative solutions to things. So hopefully, but ask follow-up questions if you like. All right. So, but basically we've done something a little bit creative with this tune. And you can do this on your own. And it doesn't have to be a big deal doing improvisation. It could be as simple as playing it really quiet. That can be really cool. Like let's do that. Do the quiet to loud to quiet with this idea, just to reinforce it. Very little bow at first. Almost like a train coming. It's getting closer. Here it is. It's really loud now. Now it's getting quieter. It's fading into the distance. Super quiet. Barely hear it now. Okay, so just thinking about improvisation, we didn't really do much with that, but it ended up being this cool little piece. Like we took a little phrase, all we did was break up the long notes into short notes, and then we added the dynamics. Dynamics is a word for volume changes. We added that, and all of a sudden it's like this cool little music piece. And so what I really want you guys to do is think of improvisation as like improv practice. How can you practice in a way where you're integrating different things? You're kind of killing two birds with one stone. That's a horrible expression, but like you're learning one thing, you're learning a tune. Can you learn them at the same time somehow? So, I think that's a good way to look at it. So we're going to return to that idea in a sec. And keep the questions coming if you have something. But now what we're going to do is continue the journey by going to the key of G major. So I'm going to switch from D drone and I'm going to put on a G drone. Okay. And then we're going to first start by just playing the scale. Let's play the scale with a new variation. Let's do triplets. 1, 2, 3 on each note. G major. I'll count you in 6 for this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. G. G1. Add an accent if you can. Now let's try a simple variation. Let's just go backwards down the scale and then back up. So starting at the top at D3, count you in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, one more time that way, but I'm going to add a little rhythmic variation, another optional thing. Listen for a sec. It's on D3 do. We're going to turn the middle note into two even shorter 16th notes, like. Try that just on D3 for a bit. Okay, now we're gonna do the same scale going from the top down and back up with that variation, or just normal triplets if you like. Counting in 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good, now let's just hold that note. Just listen to it and enjoy it. Take a step back, just return to a good sound. If need be, do little bows or longer bows. Really enjoy it. If you feel confident with double stops, add open G here. Tremolo. Let's do one more thing with this. Let's do, maybe somebody else already did. I saw some string crossing. Let's try paradiddle. On your own, add your own pace just for a sec. Okay. Now let's do Wildwood Flower in G major. Starting G2, let me just start a little bit of it. And then the third chord will be. All right, so here we go. I'll count you in 4. Do, do, do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so for more advanced students, we're going to do this on your own a bit, but I'm going to give you a suggestion. You can do the same thing an octave higher. All right, so you would start A1. I'm going to put the tabs for the beginning in the chat, but you would start. And then the third quarter will be A3 to E low to 4. All right. If that seems like a bit much, then just practice it on your own in the lower octave. Add hoedown 2. Remember we did that earlier. That's another variation you can do. I'm going to put some tabs for the upper octave in the chat. So I want to pause you and make another suggestion if you like as you practice this. You could practice a free improvisation by alternating the tune and then between the tune and improv. So if you like, otherwise you could practice adding the variations we've done already, but you could do something like either the whole tune or a single phrase, like. And then do. improvise with the G major scale somehow. Even if you just play pieces of it with variations, that could be your improv, all right? And then go back to all right. Play with that idea and we'll see how it went for you. Okay, I'm going to answer your question, Cindy, in publicly. So Cindy had a good question, which is why does it change to low 2 on the upper scale when the lower scale is transposed the same? So a simple answer is that, I'm just going to pause the drone for a sec. So a simple answer is that unlike piano, if you transpose something, the fingering changes, okay? Because in order to preserve the same notes, we're gonna have different fingerings, okay? So Cindy, if instead of A and D string, we had a higher G and D, then it would be the same fingering. But because these are different strings and need different fingering on the same sequence, like G, A, B, C, if we're doing that starting on D3, D3, A1, we have to use low 2 in order to get the C. All right. I still don't feel like that's the best explanation, but maybe we're getting closer to your, why does the fingering change? Okay. So, alrighty, great. So I want to do, let's see. Did anybody try improvising? And do you have any? Okay, you're welcome, Cindy. And would you want to share like how it went or anything, or do you feel okay? Does it feel like just a complete mystery to anybody? Raise your hand if you're just completely lost in trying to improvise. All right. So let me see, I can't see everybody. Did anybody just completely lost with the improv and what to do there? Who tried it? Okay. Well, I don't see any hands raised. So I'll just say again though, that take that space, you play the tune, and then take a space, you can just simply practice the scale in different ways. That's one of the best places to begin with thinking about improvisation. How many different ways can you play the scale? And then you can get further from that and take a piece of the tune and mess around with that. So we already did this a little bit, but let's say we have so let's just play. Here's another great fun improvisation type strategy, which is to take a phrase and mix up the notes. So let's just do first play the first 6 notes, and then we'll do a little call and response after that. Okay, so I'm gonna take those notes, I'm just gonna mix them up a bit and do different things with them. So that's D, 1, 3, 1, open. Same notes, same note pool. Adding to it. All right, let's take that and maybe add 2 bows. So that was our little improv. Now let's go back. Let's call that the phrase from the tune that's like our tune. And so let's go back to the more basic thing. Okay, now we're going to mix up the notes again. So now we're just going to play all those notes, but start at the top and go down. So D3, 1. Almost like making a scale from those notes. And now let's go up. I missed a note, sorry. And now let's go backwards. Sorry for that. I left out D1 or E. Sorry. All right, let's do one more little mix up and then we'll go back to the phrase. So we're gonna do G2, D, G2, D, 1, 3, 1. Same thing, but break up those long notes. All right, and now let's bring it full circle, come back to where we started to the tune. Let's just do the first phrase. Actually, let's just do the whole tune now. I'll count you in. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, and now we're about ready to close out the lesson, although I'll keep it going for breakout rooms, but let's just all end for now on an open G and just making it sound good, ending on just a solid relaxing note. Close your eyes if you like, really just enjoy the sound. I still do this in my own practice. Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming. That was one of my favorite group lessons. That was really cool. And thank you for your questions. I didn't get to all of them. Carrie asked that she said that she's classically trained, but struggling to remember the phrases without the sheet music. Well, Carrie, there is sheet music for this tune on the website. And so you could look at that. And for the improv things or the call and response, it's best to just jump into the deep end, and do your, but it is, I'm glad you brought that up, that's actually a challenge that a lot of classical players face. You're taught to read music, which is a good thing, I think, but it can be a little bit difficult to play by ear, but not, it can be done. It's like anything, you just learn it in little steps. So learn simple call and response things. And Carrie, I also have simple like call and response exercises. I think you're new to the site. I think you just signed up, but memory serves me. So, but yeah,
Is
they're
it
just
okay to,
simple. What's that?
can I ask you a question
Yes.
live?
Yeah, of course. And other
Um,
people can too.
okay, cool. I totally am getting the call and response when you're doing it just in the phrases, but then when we put it all together and have to, memorize it essentially, that's where I really struggle. So the sheet music will be great, and the transposing was great too. That really helped me put it all together. So yeah, thanks.
You can do that on your own with anything, by the way. Like uh, a really good practice is to play something and then sing it or whistle it, and that'll really jumpstart your ear. Like do do do. That's an amazing way to get the music in your head. Just that little thing right there. Now, does anybody else have any just kind of general questions or about how the lesson went, comments on how it could have been better? I'm always open to that. And if you're shy, you can just email me with, things you think could be improved. And if I don't see any hands raised, I'll probably just send you guys to breakout rooms. What I've been doing is yeah, Carl, go ahead. And then Tom after that. But I'm gonna do. I think. Hold on, Carl. I'm trying to unmute. There you go.
Well, why did you say when we were going to start Wildwood on a upper octave? I got the lower one. I got starting with a G string, but go to the first finger on the A. What wouldn't I mean if we're going to start with the second finger on the D for the normal Wildwood Flower? Why don't we start with the second finger on the A to raise it an octave? It might be just the way I heard it, but you said start with the first finger on the A.
Yeah, so at that point, Carl, we were playing the tune in G. So remember before we did that, before I made that suggestion, I was down here.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And then you said go up an octave.
Yeah, and so if we go up an octave from there, this is B, and then this is B up here. So we're playing the same notes, but it is an octave higher. But that was a really good question. Now, if we had started the tune in D, Carl, it would have been like where we started today. What's that first note? Do you know?
Which one? On the A?
If we do it at D, what's the first note? What's this D2?
D. First note?
Yeah, it's actually a F sharp.
Oh, okay, second finger, F sharp.
And so if we go an octave higher, we go up to F sharp, which would be E1. And then that's where we would tune. I didn't do that because it requires going into higher positions, and this is a beginner lesson. But that would be an octave higher for D. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And that kind of relates nicely to, I think, Cindy had a question earlier about, why does the fingering change? And I don't think I explained that too well, but I think it's unlike, has anybody played piano here? So if you play piano, if you play a simple melody in one place, it'll look the same exact way when you play it higher, but not so on the violin. So one last thing about transposing that I think is kind of helpful and interesting. If you do use the same exact fingering, like what we did, it changes to, you're changing it by a fifth because that's the distance between the strings, right? So if we started it on D and we did the exact same fingering on G, that's lowering it a fifth, not an octave. And so you're gonna have a different scale. Hopefully that helps. If we go up a fifth, it's in A. It's a different scale. Anyway, so hopefully that didn't muddy the waters. Anything else, Carl?
No, thank you.
Yeah, sure. All right. I think Tom had a question. I think you have to.
There. Okay. You didn't touch on bowing at all for this song, and I wonder if you could throw a couple comments in. When I'm looking at the sheet music, you actually got a couple pickup notes, like dee dee dee, like that dee dee is actually a couple pickup notes. So I find, and maybe that if I start on the pickup notes on the up bow, like so if I'm always down bowing on the half notes, it kind of helps to keep the rhythm, because like the half notes come on beat 1 and 3, so da 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 da, and I find that if I'm doing the down bow, it helps me keep that kind of rolling rhythm. Any thoughts on the bowing technique on that?
I think that's a fine idea, you know, that you have. Like, so just see if I'll say it back to see if I got it right.
Yeah.
You're saying to slur the, and then down bow.
Down, and then slur up.
And effectively you get like, you're getting like all half notes, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, the slurs definitely smooth it out, and I guess what you like that it has that down bow there, like. I think I would do that too, instinctively too. I mean, the thing with my bowing style is I'm always changing things, and so it's kind of the weak point as a teacher, because I'm kind of constantly fiddling with my bowings. But what you know, I do try to make suggestions like what you made help out, and then to just really encourage students to try things different ways. Like once you get the melody, then turn to like the slurring and see what can I do, what can I add, you know, here that would make it sound good. But I probably could be better about giving more specific ideas. But at the same time, any suggestion, any bowing as a fiddler, you take with a grain of salt, because it could be done different ways.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll mess up, and then I find, I'm actually up bowing on the half notes, but it still sounds okay. But you know, I try some consistency, and I notice sometimes when I download sheet music from other sites. Sorry, I'm cheating on you, but but if I download music from other sites, sometimes they'll actually have, at least in the first couple of bars, they'll actually indicate the up bow and down bow. So the arranger had some specific ideas on how they thought it should be bowed. I guess I don't know how much attention you pay to that sort of stuff.
You mean like on other versions I discover?
No, like if I looked up like Raglan Road is what I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And I looked it up. It happened to be some sheet music from the Fiddler Man site. Mm-hmm. And but he actually indicated some up bows and down bows at the beginning, and you get into that rhythm, and then it kind of helps each bar. And I guess I just don't know, like if you've got, whether it's that site or any other site, sometimes whoever arranged that particular version will have put some up bow and down bow symbols in the first couple of bars. Do you just ignore that, or you kind of try and work with that?
Good question. It depends on how hard the melody is, but at some point, usually if I'm starting a melody, I'm just trying to get the left hand and get the melody really in my mind. And
right.
Then once I have that and I have a hold on it, then I'll go in and tinker and try out. I generally do try other people's bowings, you know, and then at a certain point, I just find my own way. But I really think it's a good practice to not only try other bowings you encounter, but then to just purposefully try different things. Like if something starts, you know, up bow, once you've learned it that way that you've learned, like from the Fiddler Man site, then just try to do it differently. Try to start it down bow, you know, and you know that to me is a lot of like the art and the practice of fiddling is in the sort of experimental process, you know, like just you do a little experiment. Did that work? I didn't. I don't like that as much. Okay, like, but at the same time, when you do things different ways, you're adding variations to things.
Yeah.
So anyhow. Anyway, I hope that helps. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Um, okay. Mike.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Hope you're staying safe. I think it was Mary last time who asked a question about, who is really making a point about the tone of the sound that she was getting and when would it start to sound like music. I think it was Mary who said that. If it wasn't you, Mary, then I apologise. Okay. I was going to ask a similar question in that when I've been playing it a year this week actually. Yay me! Happy birthday! And
Nice.
I was watching a TV program a couple of weeks ago, and there was a heavy metal band playing, and in the middle of this heavy metal band, a violinist stood up and started playing, and their notes were absolutely fantastic, crystal clear, beautiful sound. And I know I've only been playing a year, so I'm not trying to jump ahead of things here, but I don't see a time with the way that I sound when I play now that I'm ever going to get to that fantastic crystal clear sound that she got. My question really was, I think it's supposed to be, it's really a managing expectations thing. I accept that her equipment was far better than mine. She probably got fantastic strings, a wonderful bow. A violin was probably worth $10,000 or whatever, and mine's a couple of £100 worth. I've got ordinary strings on and a fairly decent bow. At what point with ordinary equipment can you expect to get a really, really clear and nice sound? Or is it mostly about the equipment? Is it technique or equipment that makes you have?
Well, if you have a really poor violin, it's going to really hurt you. But if you have like
not poor, but
yeah, well, if you have a decent violin, a few $100s at least, then a lot of it then is just up to your practice and your sound. And all I would say, like you said it yourself, it's expectations management. Like
exactly,
you're comparing. Like I would have quit years ago if I was, there's still so many players who are way better than me, and I just do what I do, and I really just try to focus on a good sound and try to get people to do that. Like that's why I would constantly return to just like the tone on simple things.
and
And
that's
it
my
may
point.
seem like,
Because when I'm playing, right,
yeah.
this is when I'm playing, whatever I'm playing, all the time that I'm playing, whatever it is, all the time I'm playing that, all I can hear is a hiss in the background. A hiss from the string.
That's already a more complex thing, Mike. I mean, if you're not happy with that sound, and that's not a bad sound, by the way, but if you're not happy with it, then you have to dive deep into every single note. You don't just whip off. You would maybe spend some time with A1. Ask yourself, is that okay? Maybe you need to, and maybe you maybe need to do the same thing with two notes. It's very meticulous.
When you're playing, do you hear a hiss from your strings or not?
I don't. We just play an open string. You don't hear it on one note if you're playing one note.
Yeah, I do. If I'm playing an open D, in the background there, I hear the note, but in the background, all I can hear is a hiss.
Oh, maybe that is something from your fiddle then.
Right, that could be the string. That could just be the string.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you may want to try a different fiddle then, but I wouldn't put too much into like, well, that heavy metal violin player had better equipment. She probably did, but I would focus more on what you can do with your sound. But that if you're playing an open string and you got some sound issues, then it might be the fiddle itself. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Yeah.
I see one.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. I know, Carrie, if you're still there, and then I'm gonna go after this question. But Carrie, do you still want to ask a question? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna break you guys into groups. It looks like First off, thank you all. And if anybody does not want to do a breakout room, just hop off, and that'll help me decide. I'm just going to split you in a couple groups, and you can play, you can chat. See you, Carl. All right. See you guys. See you soon, Mary.
Go to fiddlehead.com for a progressive, step-by-step course outline, color-coded tabs, play-along tracks, sheet music, and much more. Thanks for watching the videography. Excellent. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.